If you have a label on your graph. Okay. Raise your hand if you labeled your x-axis. The bottom one, the x-axis, that's your city and state. Everybody got that? Okay, now raise your hand if you got your y-axis, your average minutes of sunlight. All right. Now the next thing, raise your hand if you have all your cities and states filled out. Okay, now the last thing I need to make sure, does everybody have their scales all done? Or do you need a few minutes to finish up your scales? Okay, that's fine. We're going to go up to 1,000. Remember, we're going to count by what? 50s, and we're going to go from 0 to 1,000. Okay, so we're going to wait for Nettie just for a few minutes while I finish my scale, and then we'll start graphing. Manny?
Could we put like an X for the x-axis and a Y for the y-axis?
That's good. It's not required, but it's going to look good if you do it. It's optional. Okay, so I'm going to finish my scale so that we could start graphing, okay? Natty, are you almost there? We're just waiting on one of our classmates and then we'll move on. Okay, so everybody is there. Natty, are you okay? You need us to wait still? Okay, everybody go ahead and grab your colored pencils. We're going to use a different color for each one that we're graphing, okay? Okay. Does everybody have their colored pencils out and are we ready? Yes, okay, I can get. Okay, when I call your name, if you were in charge of locating this school, you're going to come up and you're going to show the rest of the class exactly where it's at so we can know and we can make those connections with what we're graphing. Spring Lake, New Jersey. Group 4, do you want to show us where Spring Lake, New Jersey is on this map over here? You can bring your map up. Show the class where Spring Lake, New Jersey is, so we can see the location. I want everybody's eyes up here. We're being respectful to our classmates. They're going to tell us exactly where Spring Lake, New Jersey is. Show. Then you'll pull out the stuff in this. Okay, look at, they're showing us where we're going to graph. We're graphing Spring Lake, New Jersey. Where is it, Connor and Dustin? Do you see where they're pointing, guys? All the way up there. So remember, we're here, and we're graphing all the way over there on the East Coast. Okay, go ahead and go back to your seat. And it says that they have 680 hours of sunlight. So, I'm going to borrow one of these.
Wasn't it minutes?
Yeah, minutes. Sorry.
Erase yours.
Okay, so the first one is how much?
680 minutes.
So let's come to our graph, and I think 680 is a little before 700, so I'm going to mark my line right here.
I'm missing.
Do you see that? Is everybody with me? Okay. First one we're doing, that's where my line is, and then I'm going to shade in all the way to that line.
700?
What are we going up to? 680. 680. So let's color all of it. Upside down way bottom tip of the state of New York. That big dot right there. That's New York, New York. 10, how many hours of sunlight do they have? 646. So I'm going to my graph. I'm going to put my finger on New York. I'm going to go a little below the 650. Because we're only 4 away from 650. And remember, use a different color. What do you guys think about your graphs? Do you like the way they came out?
Mine looks cool. I have gold ones.
We're going to do a few more things, and Manny's going to tell us what he did. Does everybody have a dark pen or pencil? Manny suggested that maybe we go back and we write the exact numbers. So I'm going to give you guys choice, but I want you to think about this before you do it. You can either come to the bottom and write the number of sunlight, minutes of sunlight in parentheses down here. So you guys can have that information. Or you can come and write it here. Or you can write it right on top. See that? So you have 3 choices. You can write it right on top. If you color light enough, you can write it within the bar. And if you want, you can just write it on the bottom next to the city and state. Just pick one place though, not all 3. Yes, you can. Just remember that you transfer those numbers exact. What else should we label, Manny? He said that we should label our axis, right? So the bottom is our what?
The x-axis.
X. And this one is our y. Actually, you should put x here. These are things you need to know for your math that we're going to watch you soon. Good job. Let's see. Manny wants to share his, and he labeled his X and his Y. Do you see where he put his Y? No. He put his Y right on the top corner. Do you see that? And then he put his X right here on the opposite side.
Oh.
You see that? So he labeled both of his X's. Good job, Manny. Make sure everybody has a name and date. On all of your papers. Once you're done, put your maps and everything all in a nice little pile, and then we're going to talk about the graphs and our results. Go ahead and put your colored pencils away. And for a minute while we wait for everybody, get your data sheet and just look at the latitude and longitude so you can see the distances between them. Start drawing some conclusions from your chart and also from your data that I gave you. Okay guys, do any of you want to share what you think about these charts? Think about it guys, look at the minutes of sunlight we get compared to the other places. And remember where they were located at. Look at their latitude and longitude locations. So it depends on their location, on how many minutes of sunlight they're going to have, right? Brandon, is there anything you noticed or you want to share that you got out of doing the chart and looking at the data?
They have big differences.
There is big differences on what, just the, on all of them because of what?
There's, for the schools, there's more number of, there's more than.
Good job, Jonathan. Okay, and let's see, Lacey. What do you see when you look at your chart? Compared to Silver City and look at the other ones that we graphed, the other cities we graphed. Who had the lowest amount of sunlight? Who had the lowest, Connor?
Alaska.
Alaska.
Anchorage.
Anchorage, Alaska. And remember in our science books when we read about Alaska and the minutes of sunlight?
Yeah, they have sunlight at midnight. But don't they have
On one day of the year, right?
yeah. Full 24 hours. You wouldn't know.
Once a year. And what does that have to do with going back and thinking about our science lessons on climate, on Earth? What did you guys learn from all of this?
That it's fun.
You have fun? Well, I'm glad you have fun. That's one good thing.
That was fun. That was fun.
And what else did you guys learn? Just remember, think about all the chapters we read in our science book. Eddie James?
We learned where other schools are.
We learned where other schools are.
We learned about latitude and longitude.
We learned about latitude and longitude.
How much sunlight they have.
And how much sunlight all of them have, Jackie?
The difference between us and other kids, like how much they age and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's crazy, huh? And we talked about how sometimes in Alaska when they're going to school, it's dark. Yeah, so remember how we talked about how does climate affect how we live? So do you think the kids in Alaska live different than you guys?
Yeah.
Do you think they have different clothes than you guys?
Like a lot.
They probably hardly ever wear
Okay, one at a time real quick.
Maybe on the days that are dark on the clock and put AM and PM and
You think they might get confused? Maddie?
They probably hardly ever don't wear short sleeves.
That would be something.
How are they supposed to walk to school?
Well, if I was a mom in Alaska, I would not let my child be walking to school in the dark. Do you think you're, but maybe they're accustomed to that because they're used to living like that. Sam?
They were night vision.
That would be
Flashlights.
handy. Flashlights, maybe, and we talked about that maybe some of the kids in Alaska probably carry flashlights in their backpack because when they go to school it's dark, and sometimes when they get out of school it's dark again. Dakota?
Like if they don't have roads because it's all kind of snow, maybe they put like a string where they can follow it.
So that now Dakota's bringing up transportation. So do you think that they have buses there in all the places in Alaska?
No, because probably a little bit. The snow is probably.
And if they have buses, they probably have some good trains and stuff on those buses. Manny?
Oh, remember we had that discussion, like they would ride, like if they had a 4-wheeler or something, they would ride it to school or something.
Maybe they're allowed to ride 4-wheelers to school. Do you think they're going to ride their bike in the snow?
No.
It's hard.
Yeah, and then what else did we learn that affects the climate? Remember? And it was one of our vocab words. Jandy?
Our axis, how it's tilted.
The tilt of our axis.
So it makes it colder.
Yeah, because Earth is tilted. Yes, Sam?
Maybe they ride to school on like the sled dogs.
Sled dogs. And do you think they could have any kind of dog they want in Alaska?
No, not a poodle.
Why not? Why not, Dustin?
Because they need fur to protect themselves.
So they probably can only have certain kinds of dogs, probably. Huskies.
And German Shepherds.
Connor?
They couldn't have a poodle because most of the time poodles are shaped, so it would just be shaking all the time.
Well, what if you?
What's your name inside though?
Yeah, and Nettie?
They probably have like big dogs so it can walk in the snow, and also one with lots of fur. That's like more.
Yeah, so
Not like a chihuahua.
now let's answer the question, how does our location affect how we live? We talked about how our climate affects how we live because of the way the weather is. It affects what we wear. How does our location affect how we live? Jandy, I'll start with you.
Like, if you're like by the equator, that's where the sun's shining. But whenever you're like higher or lower or more to the side, the sun's not shining exactly on you, so maybe you're not as warm.
And you're not as warm. Connor?
We're closer to the equator to where we're warmer. Then Alaska is a lot farther away from the equator, so it's colder.
Yeah, so it affects how they live, right? If their location is going to affect how they live. Sam?
Maybe it's kind of like how California has ocean water, but we don't. So they have more. Then we have mountains, so they have to have like a bit more sunshine.
They
They
get-
can hit them, but we have mountains, so it's harder. When they hit the mountain, they're not.
Yeah, because our mountains help us because the mountains help block our sun so we're not baking in the sun. Does anybody else have anything they want to add to this? Okay, what I want you guys to do is make sure that you